This is a 2013 cement gray Toyota FJ Cruiser. We're going to be putting a Metaltech Stronghold winch mount on, including a winch and a 30-inch single row light bar. To install it, we're going to start taking the stock bumper off. There's a bunch of lower clips that are kind of hidden. You got to reach down and pop them out. A couple screws on the main body of the bumper. And then when you're pulling the grill to get a lot more access, these small little clips just have little center sections you pull up, and the bottom part opens up and allows you to pull and pop them straight out. And it eventually just takes a little bit of tugging, just gent pulling, and it will go ahead and come right off the front of the vehicle. On the main bumper, it's held on with these large plastic snap clips behind, and you just kind of got to hold onto the side and just start giving a little bit of pull once you have all of the clips off. Once the primary bumper's off, you have this crash bar that's on the front of the truck, and it's held on, it's just bolted to the face of the frame. Each side has a total of 4 large nuts that are on studs that are connected to the frame. And just disconnect the crash bar at the frame. Once those are off, the crash bar will go ahead and just slide forward and come off. It's kind of a tight fit, but they do come off. Next, on the side of the frame, there's existing 10mm holes that we're going to go ahead and enlarge to 12mm, or 1/2 inch as we know it. So a 1/2 inch hole is going to go in there. We're using those 10mm holes as pilots, as a pilot hole for us as we go ahead and drill that. Once you've drilled the side holes, you're going to go ahead and bring the actual winch mount up and drop it onto the main mounts. The winch mount has a left and right adjustment. You can slide the winch mount back and forth, left, right, to be able to center it. So now we're going to go ahead and reach inside through the center hole in the frame and on the center hole on the actual winch mount. There's a hole in the winch mount. It's going to allow us to go back to be able to start putting our side supports on. And the side supports are pretty important. It's going to give us reinforcement behind the frame. So take the side support bar itself or plate and go ahead and just reach up there and start guiding that bolt in on that top bolt. Once that's in, the lower bolt just goes in directly in the 12mm hole that's already there. Just repeat it on the other side. So to get access to make it a little easier to put the winch in, we're taking that little top crossbar off. And the winch that we're putting in is extremely large. And so we're actually moving the horn over to one side. Now this is where you start getting into somewhat install specific, depending on what winch you're installing. But this winch is the largest one that we can get our hands on. And so we're modifying the lower bar to clear this monster winch going in here. This is a come up seal, 9.5 seal, and we're dropping it in. The other thing that you'll notice is the air conditioning dryer tubing, that silver piece of tubing that's there. We're going to go ahead and very carefully, using our hands only, we're going to maneuver that tubing or slightly bend the tubing to make sure that we're clearing and it's not touching any part, so vibration cannot hurt anything. Go ahead and bolt the winch in, and once the winch is bolted in, snap the front grille on. Just the grille, not the lower bumper yet. And then see if you're able to reach down between the core support and the winch to access the clutch. Finish putting the bolts in and then snug them down. Now you're going to start working on locating where the winch controller box goes. In this particular case, this winch controller box, again, for this very large winch, we ended up making a small custom bracket to mount it to the radiator core support. And it actually bolts to that versus to the winch itself. It's 100% custom we did for this particular application. But a lot of winches, their solenoid actually mounts to the top of the winch, and it does fit inside without any modification. But again, in this particular case, it's such a large one. We're going to go ahead and route the primary battery line and put some loom on it so there's no chance of vibration getting through that line as it goes up around the body to the battery. And when you're wiring a winch, always remember, you always wire a winch directly to the battery, ground included. Do not run your ground to a bolt on the frame or anything. It's got to be directly to the battery. And then we have the loom on here on both sides to make sure that we have full protection on it. And then for now, we're keeping the one of the battery cables off while we're finishing everything up. As we're nearing the final part of the installation, we're going to go ahead and put the winch fair lead on. And see a little trick there of taping the nut to your finger as you're installing to reach a blind area. Next up, we're going to put the light bar on. This is a 30-inch light bar, combination bar, so there's fog and pencil in it. And because of the size of the winch bar, we have to use a standoff brackets, which we have available at Metal Tech, and it stands the light bar proud forward a little bit on the winch mount. But it just bolts directly on. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and start prepping the center section of the plastic bumper that we took off earlier for the cut. We're going to cut this middle support structure out or pop it free. It just all snaps together. And it's going to give us a clean shot of the primary structure of the main bumper. So cutting the bumper, it's actually really easy. There's not a lot of area that we're cutting. It's just a little intimidating. We recognize that. So as you see, what we're doing here is that we're going in and we've made a cut where it's a line where it's really to the inside quite a bit. And it's leaving a lot of plastic behind. And the reason for doing that is that we're going to cut the metal chunk out and come back and trim it up for a perfect fit. But for right now, we're just cutting it away. We're using a 4.5-inch grinder with a cutoff disc on it. You could use a Dremel. And in a pinch, you could use a box knife, actually, just by scoring it. Definitely wear eye protection if you're going to use a cutter like this, because you're going to throw burning plastic. Next, we're going to come back and go ahead and tighten this up a little bit. Now there's a lot more room for us to work. And in doing this, in this particular case, we're just going to use a soft flap disc that's going to give us a lot of control. We're going to kind of just melt it away as we go with this grinder, just for a perfect fit. Before you put the large plastic bumper back on, make sure that you've tested the winch and the light to make sure all the wiring and everything's working correctly for you. Once that's done, go ahead and start putting the bumper on.
What?
You just didn't see that?
Oh, you dropped something? Couldn't see it on the camera.
I can't see it anymore either.